Hello everybody and welcome back to Double D Construction. I know I have been on hiatus. I'd like to apologize for that. Today's video we're going to do a little bit of a diff service or a drive unit service, and I also want to address I apologize for my hiatus. I know that I've been receiving your comments and I respond randomly. Been going through a divorce. It was kind of a shitty process, but in the end, I think everything's working out better in the long run for both of us. So either way, I don't want to get too far into it. I'm actually very happy now with the way everything's been going. And I think that everything's going to move in a positive direction. I haven't had a ton of time for these things. Alright, y'all, we are back. Now it's all set up and ready for the actual drive unit service. As you can see, with those seals, these drive units are pretty solid. They don't move much. Originally, they would wobble back and forth. That's how I knew the seals were too small. So, anyways, they've been running really good last year when I ran it. But it is time. We're going to take it apart and we're going to get started on it. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break this guy loose. And it will start flowing. At least it's supposed to. And it looks like it's not. Which is rather surprising. Hopefully it is not dry. It shouldn't be. It should be fine. But we're going to start taking these apart. And the reason for that is so that we can create that little bit of gap in the top, or in the front, which should then allow it to push all the stuff out. Again, bear in mind these little screws right here you can actually buy from RC Construction Projects. They are fantastic. They came with a drive unit, but I have a bunch of them installed around the Dozer outside of the drive units. That is pretty amazing. And like a real one, you just have to take all of it apart, which is fine with me. It doesn't bother me at all. I don't mind realism, never have. I actually rather enjoy it, to be honest. So we're just gonna take these 3 to start, just in case it starts spewing oil. I'd rather not get oil all over everything, because just so you know, in case anyone missed it in previous videos, this is pretty sure it's I think it's 80-90 gear oil. We're gonna grab that real quick. Yeah. It is 80-90 gear oil, GLS or GL5. Just basic Master Pro cheap stuff. Nothing crazy, nothing super insane, just basic gear oil. No additives needed, none of that stuff. Just the gear oil should be just fine. That's what these are designed to take, so no worries there about damaging anything. So I'm going to take this apart. We'll see when I edit the video if I edit out me taking all these little screws off, because it does stick on there pretty well, which is nice. It's nice that you don't have to worry about it just popping off as you're taking it apart or any of that. The seal's nice and tight. It seals really well. And yeah, it's a really awesome setup. I can't speak any higher of these. I absolutely love them. But that is definitely my opinion. And I haven't really been paying attention lately, but I don't think I've seen any other videos on these, which surprises me. I figured that there would be more people that would want to show them and how they work and all of that. Hopefully he decides to do another couple runs of these, because they are, as stated before, I believe that they are just absolutely fantastic. I think that he couldn't have done a better job with these. So well made. Right. Alright, now that that's done, what we're going to do is we are going to grab the little, essentially the little screwdriver blade, and just kind of wedge it apart little by little until it separates. Why? Merely because we can, and because it just works out easier that way. As long as you're careful, you won't damage the finish or your screwdriver. A lot of times. So, this one is actually on here pretty good. So we'll take pliers and we'll just tap it on just enough. Try and get it to break loose. There it is. And we'll come to this side and we'll do the same thing. Now we've got it to slide out a little bit. We are good, so we didn't need to go any further than that. Personally, I don't like doing that too much if I don't have to. There we are. And it looks like a lot of the oil sat in there for too long. Because there it is, starting to leak. Okay, perfect. It's still oily, but not as oily as I'd hoped. But as we can see, we've got a seal on there. That's the one seal. I'm not too worried about that one. We do probably want to re-lubricate everything again when we go to put it back together, just to be safe. At least the seal, I mean. Obviously you're going to lubricate the diff. Or the drive unit. I know I keep calling it a differential. I'm so used to cars. But it's actually called a drive unit. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to wipe the whole thing off. Because we'll be using oil to lubricate it again. Okay. So that, my friends, is the start of it. Okay, so now we just take it apart, gear by gear. Now what I tend to like to do is stick them on there. Because as far as I'm concerned, I would much prefer putting the whole thing together as it comes apart. So that I don't have to worry about having any issues with it otherwise. Now I know see there's the oil in there. I wonder if it'll come from the back once I go and start pulling everything apart. This guy right here, so it's cool. everything comes apart, so it's easy to clean and check and do what you need to do. But I'm not seeing any kind of damage or issues with it, which is great. I mean, I wouldn't expect to, although I am surprised to see how dry this is. It is a little weird to me. I expected it to not be so dry. But yet somehow it is. So I would really like to know why that is. Oh, oh no. Down with the gear. Oh. Well, that's not going to be fun. Oh, there it is. Okay, so the other thing is I make sure that any clothes I'm wearing are all very, I really don't care what happens to them. And that's because this is a very dirty hobby, and as much as I love it, you have to at least recognize that it's a dirty hobby. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but be prepared to destroy clothes. And try not to do that. Okay, so there is that. There's this gear. Oh man. Such is the joys of carpet when you're dealing with these things. It's probably not a recommended practice to have carpet in these situations. I'm just going to let you know right now. There's another gear in here, which means that I'm just missing one. So it's not uncommon to drop stuff, of course. I, always have the same problem with N-scale model railroading. Always. Just everything falls out. It all falls out everywhere. So generally you just have to pay attention, and within a minute or two it's really easy to find. None of these are really that difficult normally. Just gotta do some carpet lerping, and there it is. Luckily they're big enough and easy enough to see. So alright, so I tend to take it apart this way. I feel like it's a lot safer the way that I'm doing it right here than it would be normally. If I were to try and do it any differently. So this is how I do it. Seems to work out pretty well for me. This is where you have to be really careful, because you certainly do not want to damage your what do you call it? Your plastic gearing. I can't remember when I did the plastic gearing if I put the little whole thing out. Yeah, I did. Okay. That's what I thought. So that right there is your gearing. So beyond this, it's just taking the ring off, and I should be able to slide the whole unit out. As you can see, it definitely, in sitting, as long as this did sit for a year. The stuff kind of solidified and got less liquidic, I guess you would call it. I don't really know the proper terms, but yeah, it just became a bit more sticky. Generally the same kind of thing that happens in your engine. If you just let a car sit for 5-6 years and then go to start it up without actually running new oil through it, you get the same kind of problems. I believe this is the right size. Nope. A little bit smaller. Okay. So, where is this? We will do this one. Is the right size? Yes, it is. Alright. Alright, so we're going to take this apart here. Actually, we'll take the top ones off first, because I believe these would be the ones that we would need. Now we'll take this off, the shim out, and as you can see, all the fun stuff. So this is the plate that we use. A lot of times I'll just flip it over and put it around this like this so we don't get it lost. Of course, these are the longer ones, so they hold that. So, generally, the way this is designed, I think I've explained a lot of this, but I'm just going to do it again just in case anyone ever missed it, and also kind of a refresher in my mind. These right here actually hold the motor to the whole unit, okay? You've got your bearing, which is going to come off with this now that I have gotten it separated, but you don't have to unscrew those. So this is all going to work out quite nicely. Now, pull it off, and it slid off beautifully, bearing and all, which is actually pretty awesome. And if you notice, it's still quite lubricated. I'm actually really happy with that. It's actually really good. It's in really great shape, which is exactly what we were hoping for, right? We definitely want no damage. Means we've been putting enough oil in it. It never ran dry enough to have a problem. And yeah, it's running like it's supposed to. Everything is working like it should. This allows me to clean this up a little bit. Much like the real ones, I'm guessing. You try to clean up the areas where you service, so that way if there's ever an issue, it gets to be pretty obvious. It's what we do in the automotive field, at least what I used to do. I'm not a mechanic anymore on vehicles. I can do it, I just don't. Because let's face it, it is not the most entertaining of careers. Working on people's broke stuff all the time, never happy, and blah 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 blah. I can get into it. It's just not worth the negativity that we would be bringing to the channel. We don't want that. We want all positivity here. All positivity in this channel. Because, why not? This is for us to have some fun, right? Hopefully you guys enjoy this as much as I do. Because, yes, before anyone asks, yes, I certainly really, really like doing this stuff. Now, I'd be lying if I said that it doesn't have frustrating moments. Of course it does. But I think that's par for the course in just about everything. So we're gonna do a little tear down, maybe a little cleanup. The bearing's stuck in there. There it is. Slides right out, and then I can clean these up real good, just like I was hoping. And then we'll lubricate the crap out of it and put her back together. Probably a little bit later. I do have some stuff I have to get done, so before I do everything on the video, so we'll get what we can done tonight, and then hopefully I'll be able to post this video tonight. It'll be the first one I've done in like a year, which would be great. So you just have to make sure that you're very careful with your bearings. If it was magnetic, I tried pulling a bearing out. That would be terrible. Alright, I actually would like to see if there's a way I can get replacement bearings like this. I'm going to make sure you're very careful about stuff that gets in there. I mean, little things. Like, let's see if I can You can't see it, but there's a little speck on the tip of this. We obviously do not want that, because that would be very bad. So, yeah, it looks like it did allow some leakage. I could be wrong. There could have just not been all that much in there, but I could have sworn this was filled up a lot more than that. But, you know, don't know for sure. It's been so long, I wouldn't know. Oh, yep, it allowed for some leakage because we shredded a seal. So, there we go. So we did have a little bit of a leak, just didn't realize it. It seemed to operate fine, but in here you can see the seal sticking up in the bottom there, that inner seal. So that would explain it. And what we did is we sanded this down, this lip right here, because normally when you get them they come super sharp. We sand it down a little bit so we can put a little bit tighter seal on it, and that allowed me to do what I did with the seal. So I want to make sure I let people know that, so that way if you go to do yours, make sure you sand that sharp edge down. I shredded a few seals trying to put them on there thinking I could get past it, but anything bigger and it's just too tight. So we're going to go through, we're going to clean it up real good. Alright guys, welcome back. I had some stuff I had to deal with, sorry it took me so long. So what we've got here is we've got the actual drive unit off with the bearing back in it. Put a little lube on it. I'm literally, to lube this thing, I made sure I put the new seal on there. It is a little lubricated. We're going to double check it with a little bit more, a tiny bit more lube, no big deal. I'd rather do that than not enough. Little drop, calling it good. Okay, so I'm going to take my finger, we're going to run it around it, make sure it's nice and lubed. I have to figure out what size these seals are. It seems that the one bag that I had separated for it in order to use these, I do not have a size for. So I will take it to Abco and see if they can measure them out for me. I'm not quite remembering exactly, but essentially when we're putting it back together, gotta make sure there's no damage. See if there's there's a right there. We're just going to stick it right on top, and it's going to barely get by it. We want to make sure we don't tear up that seal. It seems to be fighting me quite a bit, so I'm going to take it off real quick just to verify. I'd much rather replace the seal because I damaged it and caught it than not catch it and then find out the hard way that it's just completely fucking it, basically. Essentially what we did is we sanded down the edge because it's super sharp, and the super sharp edges never work out. So the internal seal is definitely not one of the bigger ones. Now for some reason this one is going on at a little bit more of a fight. I don't know why. There it is. Slid right on there. So now we have it. It's on there. It is a little tight, but that's okay. Not a big deal. We'll get it all figured out eventually. I believe these are the ones that were the correct ones. They're just a little tight. But they do work quite well. It's just going to fight a little bit. Smooth it out. Get it a little lubricated. No big deal. We definitely do not want it dry in any way, shape, or form. And it is fighting me quite heavily. Just know that. Kind of needs to. I want to try and get it to where it spins decently. And I really wish these would not have the friction that they do. But it is a tight seal. It's definitely going to work. We're going to get her put back together and we're going to see on camera just how well it runs. If it doesn't work, we'll take it apart and see what we need to do. But if you notice, it does not wiggle, which is exactly what we want. Because a lot of times you'll see the wiggle, and that's just the seals are just a little too loose. Nothing major, but definitely not a good thing. Well, I guess it would be something major because you have oil coming out. But we're going to put this back together. I'll probably put, 6 or 8 bolts in it. A couple of bolts in there after I fill it up, and then we'll get it all situated. So now that it's all cleaned out, the gearing should be nice and good. I want to make sure that it's decently tight. Oh. Alright, so now that that's done, what we'll end up doing is I really like putting these on next. And I really enjoy putting it, or I really like doing it as one entire unit. And if you do it properly, just like this, you can get it to slide right in there nicely. You just have to do it the right way. And you want to do it carefully so that you don't damage anything. We're going to do this little seal again. This right here is your front seal, and that will seal the front of the diff. So it's important that we do that the right way. Now with this, usually I will put it on a tilt. I'll kind of set it in there and kind of try and finagle with my fingers. Try and hold each just behind it. It doesn't always work out perfectly. Sometimes you will have problems. You'll have one fall apart or something while you're going to put it in, so you just got to be patient. Doesn't always happen that way. Like here. I don't want to back out. Bam. On there it is. So, now we just line up the gear. And then we put on a couple of these. You notice how it just slid on there. Everything worked out pretty smoothly. I don't know that I would say it was perfect, but it definitely went on really smooth. A lot of times you will have to fight it. I'm going to tell you that right now. Do not be surprised if you do. It's not the easiest thing to do every time, but most of the time it's really not too big of a fighter. It's not going to hurt you. The biggest thing is making sure when you're screwing these in, they're actually going into, you just turn the gear. There it is till it pops in. You just go like that. Okay, so you want to get at least 2 of them in, nice and lined up. Once you do that, then you should be okay. You should be able to put some in there. We are going to put a few in there first. Set it up nice, make sure it's running smoothly and not, completely messed up. Because the last thing I want to do is go to run it and burn up the seal and the whole thing. Because it is possible is not something I want to ever experience. I haven't had that happen yet. I have damaged a gear set, plastic gear set, because we had one of the pins walk out of the track and get stuck on one of these low-hanging guys down here. You can't see it very well. Let's see if I can aim it for you. One of these right here got caught down here. So you want to be very mindful and careful of that. And with these, you just literally till it stops. You don't have to torque the crap out of it. You don't want to torque the crap out of it. You do want to put a few on there. Because the factory ones run, I think it's 6 bolts. I would probably do more than that. Because me personally, I think that's super weak. Now, granted, this probably doesn't really need a ton of torque on it. I'm doing a little bit of gear away. That may not be good. I'm not doing a lot. Smell gear oil though. Make sure we're not leaking. We'll stick our finger under the middle back. Not wet, so we're doing good so far. Alrighty. Take this here. And you certainly don't want to overfill it. But we do want to make sure there's enough oil in there that it's going to stay lubricated. I may not need the full half the diff. I really honestly don't know. I would be lying if I told you I did it. In real life, when you fill things like this is how you do it. It's the same thing you do with transmissions. And actual differentials, to be honest. Looks to me like we just hit the mark. Okay. Now that we've hit the mark, now we can fill it and run it one more time. Let's make sure we're not going to be spewing oil everywhere, and then I think we're good. And then I can put all the bolts on, and we will call it good. Then I will be doing some cleanup and all of that too. So don't get me wrong, I still want to clean up some of the track area, kind of get some of the dirt that's in there out of the way, some of the wet dirt over here from one of the hydraulic lines that leaked a tiny bit at one point until I tightened it. Yeah, so we just want to make sure that we're taking care and we're not having issues. Oh yeah, I'm not hearing nearly as much gear noise. Not at all. It's the other one behind it that is making all the noise. If you notice how sturdy that is on there, the seals work pardon my French, the seals work absolutely fantastic. I'm very excited about it. Just do a quick check. Sounds to me like we're good on oil level. I'm not hearing any screaming on this side of it, other than the motor, of course. And yeah, it's still got a little wetness to it right there, but it's not pouring out, so I think we're good on this. In real life, you would do it till it pours out. I don't really want to make that much of a mess with this, and I don't think it's necessary on these, like it is in the real ones. So, either way, that's basically how you end up doing that. And then, of course, I'm gonna do a little cleanup, get it slapped back together, and then I have another side to do. So, we are going to disconnect power and all that stuff and get her back together. Alright, I'll see you here in just a few. Alright guys, as you can see, we are done. All the bolts are put back in, everything's topped off just as you saw in the video, and basically it's ready to go. You can see how it screams. It has a little bit of shuddering with the tracks. That's normal, but the sound that I can hear is all from the motors, and that's just being that they're brushless, and it's running nice and smooth. And back up under the gearing is perfectly dry, so which is exactly what we want. When the seals fail, generally you'll get a leak right back behind the gear, right where the actual turning part of the drive mates up with the base, and it'll pour out all right there, which of course it's not doing right now. And other than that, also this will have a little bit of wiggle a lot of times. I'm going to work on figuring out what size those seals were. I didn't get a chance to run over to Abco to get them to measure them properly because, to be honest, I don't really have the stuff for that. Or I don't know how to measure out the seals properly. I believe these were actual standard size seals, but I will find out here shortly. And then I'll end up putting that at the bottom of the video. But as you can see, they run real good. When I put them on, you notice they're really firm, so turning them is a little bit of a chore. Just to show you, it was this one that was leaking and I forgot. On here, you can see on the seal, you can see it all about right there, how it's basically flayed. How it tore it up by going on there, so a little chunk right there, moving around by my thumb. So that's all it takes for them to start leaking. And a lot of that is done by shoving the drive gear on without doing a little finesse and turning as you slide it on. It does fight you. It fights you pretty hard. But we sanded down the edges. Let's see if I can grab one in here. Oh no, that one's still put together. If I were to take one apart, you'd see. But I mean, I showed it in the video, the part where around the edge it was sanded down. We used a file and we filed it a little bit smooth, tried to round it off a little bit so that way it wouldn't damage the seals, because trying to get it to go on with the seals on safely, even with the ones that were a tiny bit too small, it would cut them, or it can cut them if you don't do it properly. So it's just a little bit to make it a little easier, because that edge is nowhere near where the seals ride, so you don't have to worry about it once you do it. You just want to be really careful. And of course, if you're not comfortable doing that, I would definitely get someone you know who is good at that kind of stuff. But other than that, you know, everything's ready to go. We're ready for a fun winter of pushing snow with the bulldozer. Hopefully I can get RC construction projects to finish a blade for me, because that would be freaking cool. And then she'll look like a D10 that you would see just about anywhere. Yeah, other than that, you know, subscribe please, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, and the more requests I can get and things we can do, I will start posting videos, and we'll get back to doing that because I'll start having a lot more time, and yeah, we can start doing a lot more stuff and start having more fun with these pieces of equipment. But if you have any other questions when it comes to especially the Dozer, that's the one that I've done a lot of work on. Also the dump truck, I custom built one based on what Bob did. Off of, what is his? I'm going to post Bob's website down below. I know I've put it in other videos. He's absolutely fantastic. His big thing is the Tamiya trucks. He's done a few videos, one on an excavator and a dozer, just on how to set up the controls and everything for them to work. I've already done, you know, like one stick driving for the dozer. It does not come that way. I set it up that way, based on what Bob did. Bob is the one that actually showed me how to do that on there, or he posted a video on how to do it, and then I followed the video. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions or anything else, please let me know. I'm going to be monitoring this a lot more now. Now that I'm single, I have a lot more time to do all the things I actually want to do, which is cool. So either way, you guys have a great day, and yeah, post below if you have any other questions or anything else. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.